Hey, everybody. Welcome to insert podcast name here. And
Sick.
just to introduce ourselves, my name is Nate.
I'm Tommy.
And so, what we're going to try to do here is basically just, I don't know, talk video games. That's what we love. It's what we know. It's what we live for. And we're just going to try to bring our joy of video games to you. And we're just going to talk kind of about like what's coming up, games we played recently, just kind of a very casual conversation on how we want to do this. This is just a starter for us, and again, we have no name as of yet. So hey, if you got any good ideas, just let us know.
Yeah.
Um, but let's. I don't know. Well, you know what? Let's just start. Tommy, tell me a little bit about like your video game interests. I'm not
Tell
going
me
to
a
go
little
into
bit.
like your whole
Tell me a
personal
little bit
life.
about yourself. This
Yeah,
is
tell me about
actually an interview
yeah.
for a
No,
job.
but like since we're going to talk about video games, let's talk about what kind
Yeah.
of games you like.
Well, it all started for me going back. Sonic the Hedgehog being the first game I ever played, and then a couple years down the road later, got really big into Legend of Zelda, specifically Ocarina of Time. That's like my memory, like core memories, like really like Ocarina of Time and the entire N64 is like where I think I developed my love for like RPGs and that sort of adventure game is like that's what I consider like the type of game that I really like to play. As a pair, got my Zelda shirt on, I have a Zelda tattoo. Um, so for me, it's always been like those adventure games, RPGs specifically, and then I feel like almost everyone dabbled in first-person shooters for a while, like the Call of
Oh
Duties and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, right after like 2000, like 2000 to
Yeah.
2010 was like a really good
Oh
time
yeah,
period for
with
shooters.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and then leading into all of the entire
Yeah,
suite of Call of Duty and stuff, and then even now I still find myself playing like Apex Legends and
yeah. Now it's kind of like passed off the torch to
Battle
like battle
Royales.
royales. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than Fortnite, that was a game that I tried, but I just like was never just never really did it for me. Like I played PUBG and all of that, but Apex right now is the one that I think I play the most in terms of like first person shooter or like battle royale because like I know one thing that we're gonna hit on later is Starfield, and that's technically a first person shooter, and then going along with like all of the Fallouts is another series that like I know both of us love. And then even I would almost go. I know it's not a first person shooter, but like Skyrim is kind of like as close to a first person medieval first person shooter, and
First
like
person wielder.
yes, everything Bethesda does since they took the Fallout. Or I mean, I guess Morrowind was the first Bethesda game I played, and that was like mind blowing to me. But ultimately, long story short, is like the RPG adventure. That's like my wheelhouse. I feel like what I always look for in games is like mainly like can I level up and can I give myself skills. That's what I like to do. What about you? What would be
Well,
your answer to that?
if we're gonna start with core memories, geez, Super Mario Brothers was
Oh
my
yeah,
first game, like on the old original NES. Yeah, I sunk a lot of hours into that. Just it's so crazy too how it's evolved from just like the little rectangle controller with two buttons and D-pad, and now not that we've like gotten up to like so many more buttons. I mean, well, we have like
right.
look at the PlayStation. It's got like what eight buttons in the D-pad, and then the analog sticks. But still, but it's just like that's where like, and we'll even going before Super Mario Brothers. You take a look at like Pong or just like Atari, where it's just a joystick and a
Yeah.
button. But yeah, that was my very first game, and that was probably what kicked everything off for me. Now going into like games that I typically play, it's fairly similar to yours. Obviously, adventure RPGs. I dabbled in the first-person shooters for a bit, probably up until I think it was Black Ops 2 for Call of Duty.
Yep.
That's when I realized that I am no longer good enough to play
Yeah.
first-person shooters. So, so I haven't really touched on those like at all since like Black Ops 2. In its place, I've kind of swapped out for fighting games now.
Yeah.
So I play a lot of Street Fighter, Tekken. I'm trying to think of like Mortal Kombat. There's a whole plethora. We'll talk about those later. But there's so many. This is a really good time for fighting games. But yeah, other than that, RPGs, adventure games, like you said, pretty much any Final Fantasy game.
I was gonna say, I know we both have a big love for
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, so
So that's kind of basically my wheelhouse. I don't. Well, I have dabbled a little bit into survival games, mainly Ark.
oh yeah,
I've sunk way too many hours into Ark, but I just love dinosaurs. That like it like it just
Yeah.
it speaks to that 8-year-old me that was like, I'm gonna be a paleontologist when I grow up, and then
and now
of
you play a
course,
video game where you can
now I
ride
play
a
video
Tyrannosaurus
game,
Rex.
basically, yeah, with guns on its head.
Yeah, just like what happened in history.
Yeah, just like yes, and it's just I don't know that's just a game that like speaks to like kind of like how you're Zelda. I mean, I played Ocarina of Time as well, so I get that. I definitely that was surprisingly that was my first Zelda game, like proper Zelda game. I played like a little bit of like the older Zeldas like on the Nintendo and whatnot. But I never actually like beat any of them until Ocarina of Time. So, and that was just such a good game. Oh, it's such a good game. And
I mean, it's so, and its re-release just came out, or well, not the re-release, but like the Nintendo Switch Online. They have the Nintendo 64 and like I think like 24, like 24 games roughly, maybe a little bit more. And Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time are both on there. They're not like the greatest. Like there's a little bit of input lag, but I just like the end of last year, I rebeat Ocarina of Time again. Because
nice.
I seem to do it like once every year, like once every other year. I just go back and like start a new one,
you get those games,
do the whole thing.
I try to do that with Final Fantasy VII or Chrono Trigger.
So yeah, I never got into the Chrono Trigger series. I need to do that.
It's such a good one. It's such a good one. I don't know. There's something about the pixelated, games like that that just feels cozy, I guess. As far as, like, if a game could feel cozy, that's what it is for me. Like the 8-bit pixels. But yeah. So okay. So all right. So we've talked a little bit about ourselves. And we'll kind of like segue this into kind of maybe just kind of what we're playing right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And then after that, we'll delve a little bit into what's coming up, mainly Starfield.
Yeah, because well, you were saying it's a great time for fighting games specifically, but and I know we were talking about this the other day. It's just like a great time for video games right now. It
really is.
Like,
yeah,
there are so many things coming out. There are so many this year has been. There are a lot of Game of the Year potentials. I think you and I are both like, I think Starfield's gonna win it, but like looking at all of the potential contenders for Game of the Year, it's like some of these other games were released in any other year, they would have taken it easy, no chance. Like going off Zelda, like Tears of the Kingdom, that one has been my like absolute second favorite Zelda of all time up until this point, with Ocarina of Time always. And that was like, I think, kind of a nostalgia thing. Like you said too, it was the first Zelda game I actually beat. But this one Tears of the Kingdom has been so good. Like they took, like Breath of the Wild was already awesome. It was like Skyrim meets Zelda to a degree. And it was like so incredible, like everything that you could do. And then they took Tears of the Kingdom. It's exactly basically the same map with some extras, but they made it so much better. And it's just so impressive how they've done that on a 6-year-old system now at this point. Like it's just so good. It's been so good.
That's fair, I guess.
That's fair. I get, but like again, and like other games released this year. Like I know you've been playing Diablo 4, right? Like, didn't
Yeah,
you?
just kind of not too far, and I think I'm like level 28, I think.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's great. It's beautiful, and it feels closer to Diablo 2 for me than it did for
For
3, which I
three?
love Diablo 2. Diablo 2 is one of my is up there and probably like one of my top tens.
Yeah.
Because it was just so good, especially with the DLC. I think it was Lord of Destruction DLC.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, so as far as like what I'm playing right now, Diablo 4 definitely recommend. I know there was a lot of chatter about
The cow
microtransactions.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, we're still searching for that cow level. But like,
Microtransactions. Is that
yeah,
what you said?
microtransactions, which that's like the bane of all video games right now. Everybody hates it, but none of us can get away from it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the trend for video games currently, and but for the most part, I haven't had an issue. Like
Hmm.
I honestly haven't had a point in the game where it's just been like, hey, you need to buy these gems for real life money to get this, or
Yeah.
like there's a store. I haven't touched it. I haven't even looked at it, and I'm perfectly enjoying the game, you know, as it is without that. So if you're looking if you're a fan of the old Diablos, I think this is a great one to get back into.
Hmm.
And let's see what else. I'm playing a lot of things right now. I'm still playing Ark
Yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
because I
I
can't I
so
can't quit it.
I I tried to play Ark a while ago, like years ago, and it just like I don't know. I think it's like I totally get like the dinosaurs, and I can see the appeal, and it's a survival game. Like I played a lot of Rust or a decent amount of Rust and like other survival games, and like I get that appeal too. But like there's something about like the graphics in Ark that have like always turned me off because they feel like kind of janky. Like
Yeah,
and
if you
so
could get past that, well, if you can get past a lot of things, actually, it's a fun game. But
I know you can. There is a poop button, like you can poop.
yeah, you
So
can,
that was
and
always
you use
interesting.
that to
Yeah,
make
fertilize.
fertilizer for your garden. So like for me with like Ark, it's like one, okay, dinosaurs, that's like the main draw, right? But the second main draw for me is that I love building in games. I love
Oh
building
yeah,
like bases. Not even like I'm one of those people like when I play, like I'm not trying to build the most efficient base. I guess like
You're-
it's like just doing manipulating the AI, like doing things to manipulate the AI so it does so the game plays how you kind of want it to play. I
yeah,
like making pretty things.
yeah.
Like I make like
So
go ahead.
did you talking about building bases and stuff like that? Did you ever get into Minecraft?
It's funny. I have, and I really enjoy it. I've recently tried to go back and actually like start playing with some of the the texture packs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Just to kind of like because like yeah, base Minecraft is, I don't know, for me it's a little boring. But the
yeah,
building is still fun. I mean, well, I don't want to say boring, bland maybe. It's like or just
yeah. I think
vanilla. It's just vanilla.
yeah, exactly. Um,
So,
good.
but the texture packs add a lot, and I really enjoyed that. And I would definitely spend more time. Like if I had never played Ark, like started playing Ark,
Oh
I would
yeah.
probably be playing Minecraft.
So you should also look up. I don't know if you've ever played any like the Skyblock or any of like the mods effectively
No.
for Minecraft. Some of them are really fun and interesting. Like Skyblock is a really cool like concept where you start on a literal, usually like a one by like a dirt block. Like so, there's literally you're in a void and it's just a dirt block, and you have a couple things in your inventory, or it's like either a dirt block or like 9 dirt blocks, so you can move a little bit. But you have to like plant a tree, break the tree to get more resources to then build out, and then like the whole thing is just like getting like creating resources to then automate getting of other resources, and then you
Gotcha.
need new resources to build new things. So it's really fun. It's a different way to go. It's like kind of reverse Minecraft, where normal Minecraft, it's like you have everything and
Yeah,
you
it
have to go
uses this
find it and
huge,
then build
vast
stuff.
world.
This is
Yeah,
like you start with basically nothing and then you build out everything.
that sounds kind of cool.
It's a lot of fun though.
I'll have to check that out.
But this is unrelated to Minecraft. I just going off of Arc, but like another game, big game that was released this year that I think had a potential had it not been released this year for Game of the Year, Hogwarts Legacy.
Yes, definitely.
And I know there's a lot of controversy about that, and you could go into a lot of the stuff about J.K. Rowling and everything, but
specifically for the game itself.
yeah,
I have not played it. I know I've heard wonderful things, and that it was just a really cool Harry Potter game, basically, or Hogwarts game, I guess, really.
Yeah.
But if you've actually played it, please tell me what you think of it.
it is. I haven't beaten it yet because we played it, and then just life happens, and we're
Right.
adults, so it's hard to find the time to play all the time. But that my biggest gripe with games, most games in the last 5, 6, 7 years, with the advent of pre-ordering and Steam like Greenlight and like the betas and stuff like that, is like games get released and they're not quite finished, or they need like that day one patch, or it's not until like the DLC comes out that it's like really like complete. Hogwarts Legacy was a fully complete game as soon as it was released. It felt polished. I had personally haven't really had any like issues or bugs or anything, but like I think what was just more impressive than the actual game itself was how polished it felt day one. Like everything worked and it looked good, and that was the coolest part, is like getting through the intro thing, and then it does the whole view of the castle, like Hogwarts and everything was impressive. But like gameplay is fantastic. The like fighting, like combat, feels really smooth and makes sense and is like intuitive, but also really fun. And it's like it's just an impressive game. Like I very much think that if it was released in any other year than this year, it would have been Game of the Year easy. But I think it'll be one of the contenders for Game of the Year this year.
Right.
I highly recommend it if you can get past all of the controversy. I'm still like I don't like that money went there, but I also really appreciate the time the developers took on this, because I know
Right.
that they have nothing to do with that, and
It's like you have to separate it at some point,
exactly,
right?
and like I would buy that game again in a heartbeat. It is so good.
Yeah. So it's that kind of echoes a lot of what I've heard about it. So that's kind of nice to hear that it's confirmed. And it's just really, I don't know. I guess it's probably really refreshing to have a game that's like releases finished.
I didn't.
You know,
I never.
It's just like, I don't know. It's just
I didn't think that would be a thing that would like. And I don't know if that's necessarily like what makes me like it more, is the fact that it's like so polished out of.
Well, it's
out the
one less
gate,
thing you
but-
have to worry about. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
they're gonna. I mean, okay, yeah, there might be bugs, but it's like, okay, is it gonna be shallow gameplay? Is it gonna be like a 8-hour story?
Right.
You play for just a little bit and then it's done.
Yeah.
Because I've seen we've gotten games like that. I think it was the Golem game. It was like,
Ooh.
yeah,
Yikes. Yeah.
yeah, that was like super short, and and you're gonna charge $70 for like, I'm basically paying like what, $10 an hour for a game.
Yeah. And I saw that their company they're not making games anymore.
Okay.
I think I saw a headline
Woof.
that said like that was their only release. I remember when that was announced and everyone was like, this is a really cool concept for a game. Like taking like a character who's, I don't know, would you say Gollum is like not beloved, but like he's popular?
Yeah, he's well known.
Yeah.
He's
It's a good way to put it.
he's partially sympathetic too as a character.
Yeah, I guess that's
You
true.
know, obviously, for anyone that's seen the Lord of the Rings movies or read the books, you kind of know how that turns out. But for the most part, I think he's more of a sympathetic character than more like a, I don't even want to say villain, but just like a. It's really hard to put. I think that's kind of the nuance of why Golem works so well as a character.
Yeah.
Is this that sometimes you're like, wow, this thing is kind of a jerk, and then the other time you're just like, I feel so bad for him because he's like just completely enamored by this little tiny object.
Right.
And so I mean I can see why there would be interest in the character. It just seems like the execution of said
Game was
concept
bad.
was just not good.
Yep.
So, but you know what? I mean, look at Redfall. That was another game that was supposed to have high hopes, and it just fell flat on its face.
Yeah, I think there was like some development issues, or it went through like development hell or something like that for a while too. Yeah, it's you hate to see it.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, but you know what? That's the thing. Is like you're gonna. It's like movies. You could dump. I mean, look, they had 200, 300, $100 million movies that just completely bombed.
Yeah,
And I think that it's kind of getting to a point where that's kind of just the landscape where it's like boom or bust almost. It's like, and then every once in a while you kind of have just like the middling games but those are the ones that not the AAA titles.
yeah.
And I think
Typically,
this is also probably a really good time for indie games as
yeah.
well. So I see so many, like, people have the tools to make their own games now, and I think that's awesome because obviously I don't want to say it's like more competition, but it's more access to people's creativity that may not, because it's like, there are plenty of games where you can see that it's like, okay, it looks like the execs had way too much input as opposed to
Right.
the actual people that know how to play video games and like know what gamers want.
Right.
And that also goes into movies, is like I guess it's almost like an entertainment industry, across the board. It's like
No way.
yeah, right. People with power want to stick their nose in things that they probably shouldn't.
Novel
because
concept.
Yeah, right. I would love to have that power myself, just so I
Right.
could, see that it's and I always like attribute that, like, or compare it to, like, if I owned like a sports team, I would I would love to own a sports team. I will never own a sports team,
But I would love to.
but I would love to. And if I did, I've always thought about, it's like, if I owned a sports team, I would not meddle in like anything. I would just hire the best people to do the job.
Yeah.
Not just like say, hey, this is what I think we should do. It's like, I think we should run the ball more. Like, but we have like the best, passer in the league, and like, yeah, but they'll never see it coming. It's kind of like, just, I don't know. I don't know why people feel the need to meddle amongst things that they probably aren't qualified to meddle in, but
To feel like you're contributing or something,
yeah,
right?
I
Like to
guess. I don't know.
I guess in the idea of like sport, like you can put your name to it and be like, and I helped.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but like you're paying people that are better at doing this particular
Like,
thing
who
to do it.
specialize it,
So yeah, so like why don't you just let them do that? But that's a bigger issue too.
Well, and then you see that kind of branching off into like talking about movies. Is like the stigma of video game movies.
Yeah.
So, they just don't do well.
Although, I think, at least recently, and me personally, and maybe this is a hot take, but like video game movies that are done in a way that's not, how do I want to put this? Like, I loved Detective Pikachu.
That was a
That
great movie. I really
that
enjoyed
is
that as well.
Yeah, that is technically a video game movie, but it's not like here's the plot of Pokemon.
Right.
And it's just like here is a movie set in the Pokemon universe, sort of, that we're going to take a lot of creative liberties on. And I think that was executed pretty well. I honestly don't know how that did, like in terms of a movie.
Oh, I. That's a good question. I'll have to look that up.
But I also know too that like the Super Mario Brothers movie,
Yeah.
the new one that just came out, has done really well.
Yeah, it seems like recently, like within the past like few years, video game movies have actually kind
Done
of
okay.
Yeah, done okay. If not good.
Right. Because I know
and
the Sonic movies
Sonic
on
movies were really
it's getting
successful.
a sequel.
Yeah.
Or did it already come
They've
out?
already had a sequel.
They already had the
They're
sequel?
already
Okay.
working on a third one, I think.
The third one? Okay.
Yeah, because I think Knuckles was pretty popular.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up, but I haven't even seen the first one or
Yeah, same.
either. But
it looks fun. It looks fun. And I've heard good things about it. But it's like, but I think those are the kind of video game movies that can succeed, like with less effort. Super Mario,
Yeah.
Sonic, big name, huge names. But like take like more. I don't want to say obscure. If you're a gamer, you kind of know a lot of games, but like people that don't play video games as often may not be familiar with like some of these games that they're trying to turn into movies. And like here we have a note for like Borderlands.
Yeah.
That which I love the Borderlands games. Fantastic, great humor, great character design. It's so over the top. It's just hilarious. And
like when they announced the Borderlands movie, I did feel like that universe, the Borderlands kind of concept is like there's a lot you can do with that because it's like treasure hunting when you break it down. That's like the idea of the games.
In space.
Yeah, in space. Yeah, and I think that this movie's supposed to be like the first game, like doing the plot of the first game.
I think so. Yeah, because it has
Is Roland his Kevin Hart's?
Yeah, he was
Roland.
Yeah, and then wasn't Kate Blanchett?
Kate Blanchett is Lilith, I think.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis is Tannis. I can't remember who. Not Brock. Was it Brock? Is he in the first one, or is he the second one? I can't remember.
It was Brick.
Brick, thank you. Brock.
Yeah.
Close enough. Yeah. And then
what's about here and there?
Yeah, and then Zero is I think also the
Zero's
first.
two.
Zero's
you're
two.
Thinking of
he has the hawk.
Yeah, he has the hawk. It's like
God. We have this thing that will tell us
if
anything we
only I
want.
had the tools, like the knowledge of the world at my fingertips.
Let's see. It was. I'm sure it does. Oh, Mordecai.
Mordecai, thank you. I was like, I swear it starts with an M, but yeah. So I'm curious to see that movie. It feels like it has been stuck in production hell.
Yeah, I guess. So I saw an article the other day that the initial one of the main writers when it was first, greenlit and whatever, who is also a writer for. I can't remember what the show was. Another big show. He is like trying to get his name away from this movie now because, and then in that article that I was reading, it said they had already filmed, and they're in post production now, and they've done like reshoots and stuff too because they've had like 6 or 7 writers that have come in because it's in the Eli Roth movie,
right?
And Eli Roth isn't necessarily. Yeah, me too. I was like, he's not a bad like director, at least in my opinion. But like, I guess it's been shot for like 2 years now, and they've been doing reshoots and stuff, and that we're still not, I guess, anywhere near a release date, which does not bode well for how the movie may or may not do.
I'm gonna lean towards probably not great.
Yeah, I don't have my
You
hopes
know,
up.
and it's a shame because it's like I love seeing, it's kind of like comic book movies. Like I grew up on comics, I grew up on video games. I would love to see some of these things translated to the big screen,
And I
you
think
know.
that's an interesting kind of point too with like the comic book movie boom that we've had for the last,
Yeah.
excuse me, like decade almost. And I know I feel like on the whole, most of like the Avengers and like the whole Marvel series, like I have enjoyed 90% of the movies. Like there have only
Hmm.
been a few movies that have just not, and I don't necessarily think they were bad mostly. It's just they weren't for me. Like the character
Hmm.
really didn't, do
Yeah,
it
and
for
that's
me.
that's the thing with comic book characters is that it's hard to love every single character.
Right.
You know,
But there are
you
enough
tend to
for you
identify
to
with,
love.
yeah, exactly. You identify with usually a specific few.
Right.
But
But it
but it's
feel
the
it
same thing with
does.
video games too. You
Yeah.
identify with a specific few games. Like there are so many games that I would love to play every single video game I could get my hands on, but
Hmm.
I just don't have the time, the money, and just the willpower to sit through and get through an entire game anymore. So I really have to pick and choose,
Yeah.
what I'm playing. But going back to that, it's just, I don't know. There's some I'm excited for. Some that I like Borderlands. I don't think it's gonna amount to anything. I'll still I probably will see it on streaming if it ever actually gets released.
Yeah.
At this point, it might even be just a straight to straight to
Yeah.
streaming.
Straight to DVD
Yeah, oof.
for anyone who remembers those.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
like
even,
I always with like video game movies, the ones I
yeah.
always think about that like stick out in my head are gonna be like there's like three that I think of. Tomb Raider, which I feel like those were never like bad, but I also don't remember them being like, obviously they weren't winning movie of the year.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
the Resident Evil movies, which I feel like were also in the same boat. Like they were never bad. I would feel like there were parts that were pretty cool,
Well, there was some
but
towards the
and then
end.
there were some stinkers too. Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
like
then
that
I
first Resident Evil movie had really, it kind of
yeah.
hit like a nice spot for
Yeah, and
for
then the
being a
third
fan.
one, which I don't even know if this is like if people remember this movie as much, or if there's like better known video game movies that I don't think of. But I always think of that Final Fantasy movie that came out, that
Spirits
fully
Within.
animated Spirits Within,
Yeah.
and how that one was just like not good.
That
Like
was that was not Final Fantasy.
no, it wasn't
That
at
that
all.
was
Like
that was they should have just called it Spirits Within and
yeah,
left
and just
Final Fantasy's names off of it. I think the only reason they threw it on there is because one, it was
like
made
Square.
by Square,
Yeah.
SquareSoft at the time,
yeah,
and they just need some kind of clout to
right. They
to get
needed
people to see
something to
it.
like get
Oh my
people in there.
gosh, it was
I do
not
remember
good.
I because like that came out when I was quite a bit younger, and so like I don't know that I've seen it again as an adult, and maybe I should just to give it a fair shot. But I do remember watching it, being like, "Wow, this animation is really cool," but not caring at all what the story was. Also, at that point, I don't think I really knew what Final Fantasy was. I hadn't played like 7 yet at that point, or any of them really, because 7 was the first one I ever played. But I just remember thinking like, "Oh, the animation looks cool," but that
Yeah,
was
the
it.
animation was on point. I'm not gonna lie. The voice acting was great. They had some really nice named actors attached to it, and it was just not a good story, really. I don't know, or at least the story
It
just
wasn't
didn't.
Final Fantasy. I
It
think
wasn't
that was
Final
the big thing.
Fantasy, which I think that skewed my view of the movie. And be like you said, maybe
Right.
if I watch it, go back and watch it. I haven't watched it in like 20 years.
Yeah.
And maybe if I go back and watch it now as an adult, I'll be kinder to it, but I don't think so.
No, and I know like the thing with like Final Fantasy is like not all the games are related. Like games will be maybe in the same universe, but they're not related. But like
Right.
I think there's something that like draws all of them together, and
And it just feels like
that didn't exist in that movie.
yeah, it's just like you play a game like Final Fantasy, any of the Final Fantasies, and you kind of, for the most part, I'm not going to say every game that they put out has this kind of feeling, but it feels like a Final Fantasy game, you know?
Right. Yeah. There's
You know,
something about it.
yeah, there's just, and I think that's just like the little nuance that Square can put into their games, and I think
Hmm.
that they're successful when they do that well. There have been some that haven't done as well, but but even then they still kind of felt like they had the similar formula of a Final Fantasy game, but just not executed as well as some in the past. But
Right.
um,
I want to segue off of bad movies into a new segment that we're going to call, for right now, bad takes,
woof,
because it's got the word bad in it.
yeah.
So, bad takes are unpopular opinions on popular games. I was trying to think of something for this that was a really bad take. I feel like I have way more, but this was the best I could come up with at the time. I think that hard games, for the sake of being hard, are bad. I don't care for Elden Ring. I don't care for any of the Soulsborne games, and I don't care for like Ghost of Tsushima. None of those games. I find no joy in constantly dying. I don't even like. I feel like there's a lot of games that I don't like playing, but I love watching. Like Assassin's Creed, I don't really care to play too much, but I'll watch people play it, and also like the God of War. I haven't played the new one, which is kind of different. I think the reason I didn't like God of War was like all the button mashing, and like I liked watch. It felt more like a movie to watch, and so like that was why I would like
Yeah, it felt
watching
like
it.
more, it was more cutscene than
Yeah,
good sometimes.
but the new one looks pretty cool, and it's a different kind of vibe. But that's my hot take. Is like I think those games suck. Fight me.
You know what? If we're gonna do bad takes, I'll piggyback off that a little bit. I am kind of in agreement with you in the sense that I personally don't care. I tried Elden Ring. I couldn't make it more than a few hours. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
The story
for
makes
sure.
no sense to me. And but I know that that's a design choice. Like the
Yeah.
lore is like to designed to be obscure and like kind of just you're kind of like figuring it out as you go. But yeah, games being hard for the sake of being hard for me are not fun.
Nope.
But I understand that there is that contingent of gamers out there that do it because it is hard. You know, you look at everyone that's like you. I feel like anyone that's played one, you either played one Soulsborne Elden Ring game or you played every single one of them because you love them. You know,
Right.
I feel like if you play one, then you know that you're not going to enjoy the rest.
Yeah.
Although I will disagree that Ghost of Tsushima is fantastic. Love it. You're
Nope.
not possibly thinking of Sekiro, are you?
Let's add
Because
that to the list too, because
'cause that one was actually made by I think From Software.
yeah, but isn't I thought Ghost also was like one of those really
It
hard.
is, but not
Yeah.
to the extent. Not quite as bad, but it is. It definitely requires more skill than I think a lot of other games. But I actually enjoy Ghost of Tsushima.
I like when I
very
play
much.
video games, I don't put it normally on like story mode difficulty. But I usually play on easy. I never
Well, that was actually
play
I was
on-
going to segue into like I don't
okay.
know if it's necessarily a bad take, but it's just like my take is that there's nothing wrong with changing the difficulty.
correct. There's absolutely nothing wrong.
You
Because
do
like
not have to play it on hard to, you know, or even you don't have to play it on regular.
regular, yeah.
just-
That's why I think that's why I like video games is the story. Like there is something to say about like having a little bit of a challenge and not just having it be like, I mean, every now and then it is fun to just like burn through and be like a total god in the sense of the video
sometimes
game.
it's fun. It's sometimes it's
Yeah.
not. But
Yeah, but like I see no problem. Me as a person with limited time to play video games, I cannot stand not progressing because I keep dying. And you might be there sitting there and be like, why don't you just like get good? I don't have the time to get good. So I just need to crank that difficulty down, beat that boss, and then continue.
Yep. Nope. I 100% agree with you. I'm, you know, outside of like games like Battle Royale or, you know,
Right.
multiplayer first person shooters, I think that is a little different beast, but other than that, you know, it's like I'm of the mind that you're playing the video game for your own enjoyment, not anybody else's. You know, so do what you need to do to enjoy that game. You know, if you want to be somebody that wants to play it on hard, play it on hard. Be a boss.
Right.
If you want to play it on medium, regular difficulty, you know, that's the standard. That's kind of the ideal gameplay that what the at least the developers probably envisioned. But you know what? You hit that super hard boss, you got to drop it down to easy.
Yeah.
Then you bump
Do what
it
you
back
got to
up.
do.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
Don't be ashamed.
Yeah, nobody's
No
gonna
shame.
know unless you
Or
go
no
around
shame.
saying like, "Hey, I just beat Elden Ring on easy mode." Does
super
Elden Ring
easy.
even have
I
an easy
couldn't
mode?
get hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. Is this like, does Elden Ring even have an easy mode?
I don't think so. I think it's just hard all the time
Hard
forever.
and harder.
Yeah, hard and hardest.
Yeah. So, so okay. Those are.
I don't feel like those are like
probably,
crazy.
I wouldn't say those are like hot, like bad.
yeah,
takes. Those are like
Those are like lukewarm.
lukewarm.
Yeah.
lukewarm, kind of maybe unpopular.
That's what
opinions,
this segment
but-
is. It's bad takes that are actually takes that most people have.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? That's why we say it. That's why we put it out there into the world. Let people know that they are not alone in their thoughts. But
No
at
shame
the
in
end
the
of
easy
day,
mode game.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'll always just say it's like play the game how you want to play it, and just have fun. That's the whole point, right? Like these are this is entertainment. This is, you know, these are things that people are like creative people with really interesting ideas are making these things to provide entertainment to us, and you know I think we take that for granted sometimes. You know, where I feel like we're kind of like we feel entitled to some things, like, and you know it's like you see I've seen, like, you know, this is a discussion for another day, but I'll just say it's like you see like there's vitriol in the community, the gaming community.
Yeah, it's very
But
toxic.
it is very toxic, but we'll have a discussion about that another time. But it's just, you know, but for the most part, it's like I'm always just enjoy the game. Just play what you want to play how you want to play it, and don't feel bad about that. I think that's
Right.
that's the mindset that is really helpful for me to get through games, because I've been through that whole thing where it's just like, oh, I got to play it on hard because it's like I feel like I'm not challenging myself. And it's like I don't get enjoyment out of challenging myself to an extent, you know?
Yeah,
I just,
right,
I just
not in
want to
that
sit
way.
back, like you said, we're adults. We don't have a lot of time. I just want to sit back, chill, and just have a good time.
Right.
So, but I think that's a good place for us to wrap up for the day. And I think I want to end on a positive note. So that was a nice little uplifting message to get out there. So,
Enjoy yourself, people.
Enjoy yourself. Have fun. But we want to thank you for listening in, and we have no idea what we're doing.
Nope.
We're just kind of feeling this out as we go. So, you know,
Two dudes talking about video games.
yeah, just guys being dudes playing video games. And you know, we want to, you know, talk to you about these like new games that are coming out. Like we said, this is an exciting year for video games, and we want to share our reactions with you. We would love to have your opinions on these things as well. So we'll hopefully get that opened up to everyone. And but for now, I think we're going to sign off. My name is Nate again, and with
Tommy.
me is the Tomster. I'm never going to call you that again.
That's everyone calls me that. I don't
Really?
know how you.
Yeah, okay.
No one calls me that. Literally, no one.
Old Tomster. But with that, thank you again, and have a great rest of your day. You know what? Keep on gaming, and don't be ashamed of it.
Gamers keep gaming.
Yeah. Peace.
Later.